Let's compare the iPhone 13 Pro Max and the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Welcome everybody to Apple Insider. It is Andrew here, and I have my hand on the new iPhone 14 Pro Max here in this lovely deep purple, and the iPhone 13 Pro Max in that late release green color that Apple put out. And both of these, awesome phones, very cool phones. And I'm going to be breaking down all the differences between the two and trying to focus really on the ones that matter most in day-to-day use. So let's go ahead, spin things up, and start off this compare of the iPhone 14 Pro Max and the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Starting off with the dimensions, physical, everything on the outside of these two devices. So basically, they're the same phones from the outside, very much similar. If you really want to look at the tiny details, the iPhone 14 Pro Max is a hair thinner than the iPhone 13 Pro Max. And I literally mean a hair. You can't even notice it when you're holding them, but it is a slight bit more narrow. The iPhone 14 Pro Max is also a little bit lighter. Instead of 8.47 ounces, it's 8.46 ounces, so like 1/100th of an ounce lighter. iPhone 14 Pro Max is available in graphite, silver, gold, alpine green, and Sierra blue. The new iPhone 14 Pro Max is available in graphite, silver, gold, and the all-new deep purple. Aside from the colors, there's only two differences you're really going to notice on the exterior of these phones. The iPhone 14 Pro Max has a larger camera bump. Just by a little, it's a tiny bit larger, and you can notice that the camera modules themselves are larger. We have larger sensors here, so all around larger camera modules on the iPhone 14 Pro Max. And, at least in the US, Apple is going eSIM only, which means the physical SIM card tray has been removed from the outside of the device. Internally, the iPhone 14 Pro Max is using the all-new A16 Bionic processor. That's up from the A15 Bionic processor in the iPhone 13 Pro Max. If we look at our benchmarks that I ran already even on the 13 Pro and 14 Pro, you can see that the iPhone, the new A16 Bionic, definitely is an improvement in speed and performance over the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Both devices are available in 128, 256, 512, and 1 terabyte of internal storage. They each support 5G, though recent teardowns do suggest that the new iPhone 14 Pro Max has an additional antenna and can get better 5G speeds than the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Otherwise, they each support the same Wi-Fi 6, and iPhone 14 Pro Max now supports Bluetooth 5.3, whereas the iPhone 13 Pro Max is limited to Bluetooth 5.0. Another internal change is that on the iPhone 14 series, Apple has included satellite communication. If you're ever stranded outside of cellular range, you can use your iPhone to still reach emergency services. Essentially, this is how it's going to work. You're going to go outside into clear view, you're going to point your phone toward the sky and run this emergency SOS functionality, and it's going to search the sky for a satellite and help you figure out where exactly that you need to point your phone. Once you do, it'll prompt you with a series of questions. Is anybody injured? Anything like that, which should help increase the speed that you're able to get the information to emergency services. Once your information has been beamed up, it'll get automatically forwarded to emergency services if they accept text communications. If they do not accept text communications, it will instead be routed through Apple's own relay center, which will then transcribe the message and call emergency services on your behalf. Finally, the new iPhone 14 Pro Max includes crash detection thanks to improved gyroscope and accelerometers that are on the inside that can detect when you've been in an automobile accident, including when you have a front, side, or rollover collision. Before we get too far into this review, I have to thank my sponsor for this video, Journey. Journey makes incredible accessories for all of your Apple gear. Whether you're looking for MagSafe chargers, whether you're looking for Apple Watch straps, whether you're looking for AirPods cases, or maybe you need some awesome new cases for your iPhone 14 Pro, they have you covered. Their new iPhone 14 cases are better than ever. They're using full-grain European leather that ages over time and develops a gorgeous, rich patina that's unique to you the more that you use it. has raised cutouts around the camera and the screen to protect both of those, and has new machined metal buttons on the side that look gorgeous and give an amazing tactile feel that many leather cases do not have. They have a slim profile that fits good in your hand but still is very protective, has a microfiber lining to cradle your iPhone, and of course it is both Qi and MagSafe compatible, so you can use all of your favorite MagSafe accessories with your Journey case. If you'd like to check out any of Journey's accessories, there's a link for them down below in the description. Thank you again to Journey for sponsoring this video. iPhone 14 Pro Max has some all-new cameras around the back. Apple has essentially improved all three of the cameras between the new hardware and the upgraded ISP, image signal processor, inside of the A16 Bionic. So looking at the cameras, the biggest addition is coming with that new 48 megapixel wide angle sensor. So you still have an ultra wide, a wide, and a telephoto lens. That 48 megapixel sensor will use pixel binning to combine 4 pixels into 1 super pixel, giving you vastly improved low light performance. And you can even use the center 12 megapixels to shoot 2 times optical level zoom. So now we have 0.5 for the ultra wide lens, 1 times for the wide lens, 2 times zoom for using the middle 12 of the 48 megapixel sensor, and 3 times zoom using the telephoto lens. So now we have 4 optical level zoom settings on the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Other changes with the iPhone 14 Pro Max for the camera, Apple has an all-new action mode that looks phenomenal. I test this out a bunch with my dog running around the backyard, and no matter how much I bounced around while I'm trying to run, this thing stabilized the footage incredibly well. And you're getting 2.8K footage. I wish it was 4K, but still not too bad at all. Also, cinematic mode has been upgraded to now shoot in 4K resolution at 24 or 30 frames per second. On the front-facing camera, Apple has now added autofocus to the front-facing true depth camera system. The last thing to talk about is the displays. There's a lot to talk about here, so the basic part of it is that Apple has an all-new Pro-level display on the iPhone 14 Pro Max that brings several new features. To start, it's much brighter. You can get up to 2,000 nits of brightness when you're outside. While the iPhone 13 Pro Max wasn't bad, I definitely noticed at times if it was really sunny, it was sometimes hard to see the display. It's really hard to counteract that powerful sun. But the iPhone 14 Pro Max definitely does a better job than its predecessor. Another difference is that it has a new refresh rate all the way down to 1 Hz, which updates 1 refresh per second, and can enable the always-on display. Now, even when you're not using the iPhone 14 Pro Max, just sitting down at your desk on a charger, you can still see what's on the display at all times. It's super handy. But Apple goes further and intelligently will turn off the display when it's not needed. It can tell if you are near your iPhone thanks to your Apple Watch, and if you walk away from it, it'll turn the display off. You're not there, you don't need to see the display. Similarly, if you go into a sleep focus, it's nighttime, you're going to bed, you're sleeping, why does the display need to be on? Another really helpful feature. Finally, what about in the car? If it detects that you are connected to CarPlay or in the driving focus, it will also turn your display off so that you're not distracted while you're driving. Then we have the coolest part of the new display, and that is the dynamic island. The dynamic island replaces the notch. It's about 30% smaller and houses all the same equipment as it had before, but now it floats like an island in the middle of the display. But Apple combines it with software to dynamically change what it's doing. It can show live activities such as current sports scores, your Uber order coming along. You can also see when the microphone is being used, when you mute your phone, when it's charging, the charging status, your AirPods connect, your phone calls come in, your voice recording. All of this stuff can show inside that dynamic island. You can tap on it to jump into the corresponding app or long hold to pop it open and see more information about what's going on. It's super cool and far more useful than just the notch. Apple took this kind of hardware deficit and turned it into a legitimate feature that people are definitely looking forward to. So that's it. Those are the big changes from the iPhone 13 Pro Max to the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Honestly, this is a pretty big upgrade. Satellite communication, always on display, dynamic island, faster processors, new camera features, 48 megapixel camera, lots of cool stuff going on that I'm pretty excited about. But let me know what you guys think. If you want to pick up an iPhone 14 Pro Max or iPhone 13 Pro Max, there are links, deals down below in the description, and I want to know your thoughts on these two devices in the comments or on Twitter at Andrew_OSU. Otherwise, stay tuned. I have a lot more coverage of the iPhone 14 and the iPhone 14 Pros coming your way.